Okay, I want to talk to you today about how you can get started with Aweber. And Aweber is a way of marketing your business. And you and I know, if you've been around being an entrepreneur or marketing online or marketing in general, you know that the money is in the list. And you and I really do need to become skilled at collecting contact information, names and email addresses. And we do have to use an autoresponder to do that. It's the best way. It's an automated way to do that. And we want to understand everything that our autoresponder does. Aweber is no different than that. Did you know, how many of you all knew, if I were to ask you, did you know that Aweber can keep your prospects and your buyers separate in how you communicate them, right? Maybe you knew that. Did you know that you could write messages weeks in advance when you knew there were going to be good circumstances? You can get in touch and stay with your customers with Aweber. We're going to talk about that a little bit here tonight. And one of the things that you probably realize is that marketing technology, whether you are an online marketer or whether or not you are a brick and mortar business owner, marketing technology is now getting smarter every single day. You can now do more with less because software is automating more of what we do, right? Even the most basic software designer is now able to create one application that takes the place of 2 or 3 that used to do the same job. How many of you all have found that? Now, many of these software designers, many of these applications, they're doing an excellent job of combining applications. You're probably seeing that. You probably purchased some of them. And you can now have software to build your business pages. You can now have software that helps you to manage your social media instead of having to go in every day. You can have software that actually automates and manages that process. You can have software these days now that helps you to create a logo all by itself. You can have software that helps you to create graphics and infographics. And you can have software that helps you now to create content from scratch. You can have software now that helps you to create sales videos. Pretty amazing, right? You used to have to do all of these things manually. You can have software that automates the payment process. And this is what really makes things exciting about where we're going in marketing technology, where we're going as online marketers, where we're going as entrepreneurs and business owners. Marketing technology, as you know, is now getting more connected. Now, if I lose anyone, it's going to be in the next few seconds. I'm going to tell you and mention a few things that you may or may not know about. There is an application called IFTTT, if this then that. Basically, all this is, that is something that connects 2 applications. So these really cool applications we've been talking about, there are now applications that connect those applications. So we have applications like IFT, Zapier, maybe you've heard of that, maybe you haven't, but Zapier is an application that takes those other things that I was telling you about and it connects them. There are web-based services like Wufoo that creates forms that connect these services, and JotForm. So all of these things that we are using now that used to take 3 or 4 different ways to do them, now we have them and we can connect them together. It's really fantastic and really exciting. And you probably realize, you probably purchased some of these things. Your social media now integrates with everything, right? So you can integrate social media, Facebook, Twitter, with just about everything. You can now integrate your storage with just about everything. How many of you all own Dropbox or Microsoft Cloud? And you can now connect that with everything. So marketing technology is now getting more and more connected every day. You can now use your WordPress website in particular. You can integrate with just about everything that we have talked about. So you can integrate everything. And now you can even integrate your payments. PayPal and Stripe and anything else you use. Some of you probably even use something called Bitcoin. You can do just about anything that you want and integrate and connect these things. But now what's the problem with that? Well, the problem is that some of these connections, depending on how well you use them and how well you keep up with them, they can add to some confusion. The problem typically is not that the software applications don't work. They typically do. Right? The problem is not that the software applications don't integrate. They typically do. And so because they integrate and because they do work, we've got all kinds of choices we have to make, right? And so we tend to get distracted about which we want to do, what we want to do with some of these integrations. And the question is, always comes back down to this, right? Here's what the question is. Do these new applications generate more leads? Do these applications generate more sales? And that's ultimately what you and I have to be able to answer. We have to be able to justify whether or not these software applications actually do that. And if their integration must help me to generate more new leads and sales, if I were to tell you, do you know where most of these new applications start? When these applications, they look to figure out what they're going to integrate with. Have you ever looked in some of their credibility, some of their credibility logos? The number one logo that you'll see on all of the new applications is Aweber, right? Start looking at some of their marketing pages. Start looking at some of the common elements, and here's what you'll find. They establish their credibility by saying, hey, we integrate with Aweber, the autoresponder company that probably just about every new entrepreneur and marketer at least has to make a decision about, even if they don't use it right away. You might ask now, why Aweber, right? Why Aweber? It's probably because Aweber has an interface that's really intuitive to use. I mean, just about anybody can get started using Aweber and figure out how to write a message. Aweber, now for you technical people, it has software code, and Aweber's been around for a long time. So all that software code is being constantly worked on, constantly refined. That means then that it makes it easy for some of these companies we've been talking about to integrate with them. Their pricing model has been the same for probably over almost a decade. It always includes a free trial and makes it attractive to new entrepreneurs, many of whom get started with Aweber and they never cancel. And Aweber's platform is newbie friendly. Anybody can get in, and I said this before, can get in and send a message. So if Aweber's so cool, right, obviously there are no problems with it, right? It's really cool. Are there any problems with it? Well, if I were to mention a few cons, there might be a few cons. What are those cons? Well, Aweber's really super cool key benefits are still really technical, right? You still do have to really understand technical stuff to really get down and get some of the real benefits of it. Aweber has menus that you and I could miss if we weren't told about them ahead of time. So sometimes we can go months, years, lots of long periods of time missing some of the key benefits because we just didn't know they were in the menus. And Aweber does not really require its customers to go through any kind of onboarding before use, right? So they assume people already know how to use it, and that can be good and bad. Doesn't stop anybody from using it that wants to, but at the same time, though, that means then that you could get in, start using it, get used to it, and never really get to the really cool stuff. And Aweber doesn't automatically integrate with all web services. Many times it uses that third party that I was telling you about, which is called Zapier. And the core feature of building opt-in pages can really leave the non-technical person behind, right? So Aweber is fantastic. But if there were any cons to it, it would be that. But you and I know that regardless of how we feel about those things not being there, we still have to do list building. We have to build our customer database. We have to build our list of names and email addresses. That part is vital. It is not an option. And because Aweber is right in the middle of all those integrations, then we want to know how we can use it. So we want to make sure that if all of these new applications are using Aweber as their source of credibility, if they're saying Aweber makes us credible, that means Aweber is right in the middle. So how are we going to overcome some of these technical barriers? Well, we can get a little bit of assurance, and we've put it together in a little course for you that you can find out all about when you click the link that's on this page. All you've got to do is to go straight to that link. We'll tell you more about the course, how you can get it, and how then you can overcome some of these technical barriers that could help you to really build an email list and a contact list that will help you to build your business. So with that, thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate you viewing in. Have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow. Take care. Hello and welcome. You are now looking at Aweber.com, and Aweber.com actually allows you to build and manage an email marketing list. Now, if you don't have an Aweber account, you'll come to this page at Aweber.com, and then what you'll need to do in order to get started is to put your name and email address into the box in order to start a 30-day free trial. Now, if you currently do not have an email marketing list, you will start at Aweber at $19 a month after the 30 days is over. However, if you're going to be moving your list into Aweber, then you are going to be priced according to the tier that you're going to be on, any place from $19 a month up to $149 a month, and then once your list size is beyond 25,000, then Aweber will determine that on an as-needed basis. When you get started with Aweber, you are going to have to put in a credit card in order to get started because they're going to want to be able to bill you at the end of the period. And of course, you'll need to decide whether or not you're going to be billed monthly, quarterly, or annually. There are some price breaks if you do so quarterly and annually. Finally, they're going to have you agree to their service agreement. You are going to want to read that for your own information. So now once you've read through the service agreement, you can then sign up for Aweber. Aweber will give you a login and password, and then what you'll need to do is to put that login password in order to log in. Once you are logged in, you will then be ready to start creating lists for your online business. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Hello and welcome. Now in this video, we're going to start the process by creating a list. And what you'll do is you will go inside of your Aweber dashboard. You will go to click the link that says Manage Lists. And what you'll see here is you'll see a green button that says Create a List, and you will go and click that button. Now in most cases, Aweber will pre-fill information in here, but you can actually change this information. So if you are going to be operating under a specific brand, you can go ahead and write that brand in here. So let's go ahead and do that now, as well as the company website. Now Aweber requires that you put a return address in your emails. They will pre-populate that information based on what's in your billing. Now, if you want to use a different address, you'll need to click this button, and then you'll need to change the information. Once you do that, you will then write that address in, and then you will save the information. Well, Aweber is going to ask you what sender name and email address that you want to use. And in general, what you're going to do is you're going to write in a sender name. And when you write in the sender email, you want to avoid using emails like Hotmail or Gmail or Yahoo. You want to use a server address email or an email address that you created with your domain name. Now, another thing that you'll want to do that will enhance your deliverability is you want to make sure that this sender email is not something like admin or support. You don't want to use generic names. If possible, you want to use a proper name. There is going to be another step based on the email address that you're going to put here, specifically if you're going to be using an email that you have control of through your domain name. But now, once you have all of the information in, the address you're going to be using, as well as the name and sender name, you can go ahead and click Next Step. Aweber will require you to give your list a name, but typically your customer will not see the name of this list or this explanation unless they choose to unsubscribe. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to describe the list and then give it a name, and we're going to keep it brief. As you can see here, you can only use 400 characters. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so once you've done that, you are going to then click Next Step. Now, Aweber has certain pre-approved subject lines, and you can use any of these subject lines that you feel is going to be most appropriate. Now, they will allow you to request approval for a custom subject line. Now, once you actually write the subject line in, Aweber will take time to approve it. In the meanwhile, what they'll use is they'll use one of the default subject lines that are at the top when you first sign in. So we're going to go ahead and click cancel so that we can see these back, and we're just going to choose the first one. Now we can also make changes to the confirmation, and so what we can do is we can then make sure that this message or this part of the message says what we want it to say. Now we want to keep this part brief. We don't want to make this a long drawn out paragraph. We want it to be brief so that it spells out exactly what your client is going to be getting when they sign up for your email list. In fact, you'll notice here that this says receive email from manage your list with Aweber. We might want to restate that to be a little more natural. Okay, but again, we don't make too many changes and we don't make that very long. We can also insert personalization. So in other words, one of the things that we can do is we can actually add in information that will personalize based on the information that is collected. So when your client actually comes and they sign up for your list and they use their first name, we can actually customize that information so that it says their first name and then they'll see the message. So all we would do here is we would click one of these buttons, and this will actually personalize the message so that it will say the person's first name and then give them the actual message. And this can sometimes help you with issues of deliverability. But again, that's optional. You don't have to do anything with this information. In fact, you can decide to delete out the information, click the edit button. You'll notice that that personalization is no longer in this space. We can actually edit the signature, and we can put in here a salutation or title. And then once we've done, then all we'll need to do is then we'll need to click this approve message button, and then we will then be creating our list. Now, the only thing that really needs to be confirmed will be this subject line if you choose to change it. So we are actually approving the message and then creating the list. And once you've created the list, you'll notice here at the top that Aweber will be working on that particular list, and all of the menu fields that we'll be working with will apply to the things that are going to be associated with this one list. If we want to change the list that all of these menus are going to be associated with, all you have to do is use this drop down arrow, and then you can choose the list that you actually want. Okay, so we have now created the first list, and we will now move on to some of the menu items. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now that you have created a list, you can now import users from another autoresponder into Aweber, so that if you have previously had an autoresponder account with another company, you can take those same leads and bring them into your Aweber list. So let's take a look at how to do that. Now, even though every autoresponder company is different, we are going to take a look at GetResponse, and we're going to take contacts from GetResponse and we're going to move them into Aweber. And the way that you do this in GetResponse is you'll go to the contacts area. You will then click search contacts. You'll then click view all contacts. You'll then click the specific list, and then you'll click search. That will then narrow down all of the contacts that you're going to move into a file and then move into Aweber. So once you have this list inside of GetResponse, you'll click the actions, and then you'll click export. You'll then write a file name, and then you'll click the export button. Once you've done that, GetResponse will give you the opportunity to then click a download button to get your file. Now that your list has been moved, you can now go back to the Aweber dashboard. What we're going to do is we're going to import that list in the CSV file into the list that we have just created inside of Aweber. We can do that by going to the subscriber area, and then we're going to go and click add subscribers. We're going to take a look at this button that says import more than 10 subscribers. We're then going to click this button and then grab the file that we created from Get Response. Aweber will bring you to this screen, and you'll be asked whether or not you want to import subscribers from a file or into your subscribers manually. Typically, what you're going to do, if you're going to be bringing people over from another autoresponder and you have a fairly big file, you can then click to browse and then go and grab the file from your hard drive. Now, the most important thing is that you match up the name and email address fields. And then what you'll do is you will then move to the next screen inside of Aweber. And you do that by clicking the next button at the bottom of the page. Now, Aweber is going to want to know how you brought the list over. So in this particular case, you're going to say yes, you brought it over from another email provider. You're going to choose the email provider here. Once you do that, then what you're going to do is you're going to click this button that says they signed up with you, or you'll choose the appropriate section. So in this particular case, we're going to go ahead and write in the explanation, and then we're going to click Next. Now, Aweber will ask if you want to have a follow-up message sent or if you don't want to have one sent. Now, in this particular case, we're not going to have one sent, but you can opt to have one sent if that is what you want to do with these subscribers. We're going to click No, and then we're going to click Next. Now, you can decide whether or not you want your subscribers to opt in again, or you can decide not to. In this particular case, we're going to say no, and then we're going to click Next. Now, what you can do in this case is you can actually have these subscribers tagged, and this is an identifier inside of Aweber. You'd be able to reuse this designation in other cases. So in this particular case, we're going to write in affiliate. And then we're going to click Finish Import. Okay, so once you have done this, then it's going to take some time for Aweber to actually go through the process of looking at your list to see if it is acceptable for them to bring it into your list. You can always check your history by going to this Import History page, and we can take a look here. Now, in some cases, Aweber will tell you right away if you've had subscribers added, and then how many were actually not added. They'll actually give you a breakdown here in this link. Okay, so then you'll have a number of email subscribers that have been added to your list, and you can then start to market to them using Aweber. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. We are now going to work with the settings on our Aweber list that we just created. And so in order to do that, we're going to go to the List Options drop-down menu, and then we're going to click List Settings. And you'll recognize some of these settings from a previous tutorial. Now you'll notice here that we have the list name, and then we have a unique list ID from Aweber. Now, anytime that we have to interact with an API or some kind of system that requires our Aweber information, we will use this Aweber unique ID. So one of the things you can do is you can actually put this in a place where you're going to remember it, or you can always come back to your Aweber list options in order to get this unique list ID. Now, the other thing you're going to notice is that all of your information, including your contact address, is going to be here in your list options. Now, the reason that that's important is because it is going to appear inside of all of your autoresponder emails. Let's take a look. We are now inside of Gmail, and what you're going to notice is that at the bottom of this Aweber email, you'll see the unsubscribe link, you'll see the change subscriber options, but you'll also see an address. And this address is going to match the address that you have inside of your Aweber settings. So this is where that information is going to appear inside of every email that your client actually gets. You're going to notice that there is an area that says notifications. And this is a way for you to get a notification every time somebody is actually subscribed to this particular list. So if you want to write in a contact email address that will tell you you have a new lead you can actually do that. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and write in an email address so that we'll get notification every time someone signs up. Okay, so now we've added that notification here inside of Aweber. So let's see what that's actually going to look like when an email actually comes. To test this, we're actually going to go to the Add a Subscriber area, and we're going to actually put in an email that we are going to be able to see right away. And typically you can see emails right away inside of Gmail. This is actually a good way of being able to test something in your list. You typically want to subscribe to all of your lists so that you will be able to see what your client is actually getting. So we're going to write an email address in here so that we can tell what our clients are going to see. Okay, so now we have an email address in. We're going to click Add Subscriber. Now that subscriber has been added to our Aweber list, we can now go to our email address. Okay, so now we're going to confirm our subscription just as our client would. You'll see what the email is actually going to look like. And then we're going to click this link. Okay, our subscription has now been confirmed. We are now part of our Aweber list. So now let's check Aweber to make sure that we have a new subscriber. And we can do that by going to Manage Subscribers. And we now see that there is a subscriber in our Aweber system. So now what we can do is we can check our notifications to make sure that if there is a new subscriber to this list that we would have actually received a notification. And we can actually see that we have notification from Aweber. So all we need to do now is we need to check this email. And we'll notice now that we have a new email that was added to our list. Aweber also tells us the source. And this is how you can actually monitor your leads as they are actually coming in. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now in this video, we're going to pick it up from the basic settings, and we're going to now go to this link that says Personalize Your List. Now you'll recognize the company branding that we did when we set up the list. You'll recognize the website URL. Now, we didn't write an email signature in here. Now, let's go ahead and write in an email signature as well as to upload an image into the logo area. So now that we have our branding in place, what we can now do is we can now start to customize our broadcast archive. And we can do that by first connecting with Twitter. And what this button is going to do is it's going to allow us to connect to Twitter so that our Twitter followers will actually get a copy of our broadcast as we send it out. So all we have to do is click this Connect with Twitter button, and it will integrate with the Twitter account that we currently have open. Now, if you are already logged into Twitter, all you'll have to do is click this Authorize app. If you are not currently logged into Twitter, you will need to connect to your Twitter account in order to give access to Aweber so that it can connect with the app. So we are now going to go ahead and click this Authorize App button. And so now our Twitter account is now connected to our broadcast archive. We can do the same thing using Facebook. And you'll see a button here that will allow you to click and then connect to Facebook, where you'll have access to all of your pages to actually publish your emails to your Facebook account. So when you click this button, it will connect to Facebook. What you're going to notice is that you will have access to all of the pages where you are an admin. Now, this will only work if you are already logged in to Facebook. And obviously, if you're not logged into Facebook, when you click that connect button, you'll need to log in. Once Aweber connects to your Facebook account, it'll pull in all of the pages where you are an admin. If you will not be using your broadcast on those pages, you can actually go in and you can X them out. So in this case, that's what we're going to do. We're going to X out all but one page that we'll be using for our email broadcasts. But once you have that connection, you're going to want to make it your default Facebook post. So what will then happen is that you will have the opportunity inside of all of your broadcasts to post them automatically to this Facebook page. Now, there are a couple of other settings that we'll want to take a look at for our broadcast archive. Now, what we can do in our broadcast archive is we can actually include some place where someone can sign up, as well as our Twitter link. But before we do that, let's take a look where this link says preview your archive, and then we can get a better sense of what a broadcast archive actually is and how you can use it. And you'll see here that the email broadcast archive is a page that's hosted by Aweber that will have a number of your broadcast emails. And you will be able to determine which of your broadcast emails actually go into this broadcast archive, and you'll actually see that in a later video. But this broadcast archive will allow others who are not part of your email marketing list to read your content and then to be able to sign up for your email. They'll also be able to follow you on social media and to subscribe to you by RSS. Now, the last thing we're going to discuss in this video is your being able to have a look at what your unsubscribe page is going to look like. And this is what your clients will see when they decide to click the unsubscribe link in your email. You'll be able to see what it looks like based on your branding. So again, now you can see where your client will actually see your list name and your description. So keeping this in mind, you can write your description accordingly, knowing that someone will actually see it when they get ready to unsubscribe. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, in the list settings area, you'll notice that there is a section for global text snippets. And global text snippets are going to be pieces of code that you're going to be putting inside of your emails that you use on a regular basis. So, for example, let's say that there is a domain name that you use repeatedly throughout your writing of emails. Well, what you do is you write a snippet for it. And the way that you do that is you designate the snippet, and let's go ahead and write in one now. And so once you add in that snippet, all you need to do is you need to click the add button. Now this snippet will now be available to you inside of your emails so that you will be able to use it. Let's take a look. As we are drafting our email, we would come inside of our text area. We'd then go to the personalize area. And you do that by looking all the way to the right-hand side, and you'd click the drop-down arrow. You'd scroll down and you look for your snippet. And we'll see the snippet that we created. And then what will happen is when our email is actually sent, our domain name will appear there because we've actually placed the snippet code here inside of our email. What this does is it helps us to save time and effort and to focus on the message of our email. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. In our list options and our list settings, you'll notice that there is one other section, and it's called the confirmation message section. And you'll recognize that we have already customized our confirmation message when we started putting together the actual list. But if you scroll down, there is actually more that we need to do. And you'll notice here that there is a section for confirmation message settings. Now, Aweber recommends that you use double opt-in because it is the best to make sure that you are going to be able to assure deliverability of your emails. Now, you could choose to turn off your double opt-in confirmation so that the client could actually sign up for your list without having to confirm. And all you need to do is to turn off. Aweber is going to give you a warning, and then you're going to click yes. You could easily toggle that back on by clicking the on button. Now, you can also turn on the confirmation message for the times when you actually import subscribers. And this is going to be the default setting when you get subscriber imports. You can turn that on, or you can toggle it back off. Now, when you go through the import process, Aweber will still give you the opportunity to send a confirmation message when you're going through. Now there's one more item on this page, and you'll notice that there is the confirmation success page. Now what some marketers will do is they will actually show their client, when that confirmation email link is clicked, something that they would actually want them to see in order to make a purchase or make a decision. You can actually determine that by putting a URL in this space. Now there is a default success page, so that when your client actually confirms their acceptance of being on your list, they will be sent to a specific page. You can actually take a look at that page by clicking this link. Now, as you can see, all this page says is thank you for subscribing. So if you wanted to place a commercial message of some kind, or you wanted to make another sale, you can actually customize your thank you page. And you can do that here in this space. Now, one of the advantages of being able to host your own success page is to personalize the page. And what you would do is you would click this button, and then you get the JavaScript code that Aweber gives you in order to place on your page. Aweber will give you the code to place before your header tag, and that code would be here. You'd need to copy all of the code. And if you scroll down the page, Aweber will give you more code. And wherever you want to display the person's name, you would place this HTML code that you're looking at here. Wherever you'd want to place their email address or customize with it, you'd use this code. Now again, you are going to have to know HTML coding in order to use these scripts. But if you know them, this is a great way of being able to personalize the actual thank you page. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now in this video, we are going to go over the custom field setting, and you'll find it by going to the List Options menu and then clicking Custom Fields. Now a custom fields setting is for each individual list. So for the list that we created, we can create a certain kind of information that Aweber will store and that we can collect on any particular web form that we have when we create one. So for example, we can collect an address, a phone number, and we can create any kind of field that we want based on our business. So in this particular case, we're going to create a custom field that we will use in a later sign-up form. Now, one of the things that we can do is we can give our subscribers the opportunity to update this information when they actually go to their subscriber options. So this would allow your subscriber to actually go back, even if they didn't have the opportunity to sign up with their birth date. They could change their subscriber options after the fact. So we'll click Subscriber Update, and then we will click Add. So now what we have is we have a custom field that we'll be able to add to any of our sign-up forms when we create them for a customer's birth date. And we can continue to add fields up to 25. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now in this video, we are going to set up our list automation, and we can do that by going to the List Options menu and then clicking on List Automation. Now list automation allows us to move people between lists when certain actions happen. And this is a very easy way for us to be able to segment our list. We can subscribe members to certain lists when they subscribe to a list. We can unsubscribe members from a list when they subscribe to a list. And we can basically control these actions by creating an automation rule. Now you can see the automation rule by clicking the down arrow. And these are all of the automation rules that are available to us. We can unsubscribe a person from this list when they subscribe to a certain list that we already have. We can unsubscribe someone from this list when they unsubscribe from a certain list. We can subscribe someone to this list when they subscribe to another list. And this is a great way of being able to get people onto lists when they take certain actions. Now, creating a rule is as simple as determining which list you want to interact with and then setting the rule. So we can have someone unsubscribe from this list when they become part of a certain list. Now, this will be of particular use to us when we automate the process of putting someone onto our email marketing list when they actually make a purchase. So that if someone is part of the list that we're on, and this happens to be a prospect list or a new introductory customer list, we can have that person removed from that new introductory customer list to a more focused customer list when they purchase a certain product. This allows us to market effectively. And we can do that all inside of our list automation. So once we determine the list interaction, all we do is click the Save Automation rule. And then we have the rule in place. If we decide that we don't like the rule and it isn't working the way we'd like it to work, we can actually go to the Delete button and take the rule out. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. We are now going to go to the Reports menu, and we are now going to take a look at the settings. And what you'll notice is that the settings are actually the analytics setup. And this will allow you to track your activity to your email so that you'll be able to tell what kind of email you sent that caused sales, what kind of emails that you sent that caused certain activities. And this is a very good way of getting intelligence on how effective your email is. Now, there are a couple of steps in order to get analytics set up on your site with your email. Now, you'll notice here that step 1, Aweber talks about the premium analytics and the suite of features. And the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to copy this HTML code onto every page that you like to track. So in other words, wherever you want to track activity on your site, you'll need to copy this code and then place it inside of the body tag. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to copy this tag, we're going to right click, and we're going to copy, and then we're going to head to our website. Now, Aweber instructs you to put that JavaScript code within the body tags. Now, if you were to use one of the popular web page builders for WordPress, which is OptimizePress, you would put that tracking code in this area where it says after the body tag, and you'd place this here. What you would do then is you would then click Save Settings. Once you did that, it would be time to head back to Aweber, and then you'd click the Continue to Step 2 button. Once you did that, you would want to then write in the web address where you actually placed the analytics code. Once you had the web address, you would click the Add button. Now, Aweber is officially tracking website clicks on the site where you placed the web address. Now, what we want to do within Aweber, and it gives us the opportunity to do, is to track sales, and we can do that by putting in a goal web page. Now, after website clicks, what you'd want to do is you'd want to track sales. So you'd want to place in this space a page where your client has to go one time after they have completed a sale. Now, you'd write in the goal description once you did that. So you'd pick up a page in your website that is a thank you page that your customer would visit one time. So in this case, we might select a download page that your customer would actually visit. And then we take the address of that page and we'd head back to Aweber. And what you do is you'd place the page in the goal page URL. You would describe the goal, and then you would track the particular event inside of Aweber. So you can track sale, CPC, CPM, or a page hit. And you could determine a particular monetary value for the page once it had been hit. So in this particular case, we can track a sale. We can say that the monetary value of hitting that page is $17. And then we can click the add button. When you're tracking sales, you want to try to get a page that your client will visit one time. In verification with Aweber, if a customer visits this page twice, it will actually be counted twice. And that might throw off your monetary value. So you do want to keep that in mind. Now, one last area that is optional, but you'd want to actually place here, would be making sure that you want your IP address to be ignored in the statistics. And you can do that by finding your own IP address. And if you go to the website, what'smyipaddress.org, you will be able to find out what your IP address is. You can actually place that inside of Aweber. Once you've gathered that IP address and you've written it in, you can actually click Add. And you can add any number of IP addresses that you think will actually throw off your stats if you were visiting the pages where you are actually tracking goals. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. You are now looking at the Reports tab inside of Aweber, and what you'll notice is that in this Reports tab, if you go to the Reports tab and you go to the Individual Reports link, that'll bring you to the Reports dashboard. And there are two sections of the Reports dashboard. You can look at your account overall, or you can look at the individual statistics for one particular list, which is the one you have enabled in the right-hand corner. Now, if you look at your activity in any particular area, you can look at the data, or you can look at it according to individual leads. You can also look at it in detail if you click this link. You can look at your accounts over time, or you can look at it on a particular day, as you can see here. You can do the very same thing by looking at your account in aggregate in the account reports area. Now, if you want to look at the account's revenue and what your email is giving you over time, you are going to need to track activity and set goals. So when we set the analytics or the settings area in the reports tab, you will need to make sure that you are tracking the activity based on revenue goals that you set in the reports settings area. This is how Aweber tracks your revenue inside of your reports, bringing it down to the detail level with individual leads, as well as detail down to the day. But again, if you don't track the revenue from inside of the settings area on each individual page, you will not have any detail for account revenue over time. That is the only way that you're going to be able to get it. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video.